We do have 7 members present, and so that would constitute a quorum to conduct today's budget hearing. I believe Representative Tina Sablon is on the phone with us. Sorry, thank you.
Yes, I'm here, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Representative Tina Sablon. And to introduce the members of the committee present today, I'll start off with my far left with Representative Selena Babauta, who is the chairwoman for JGO. I'm Karina Magovna, the vice chair for Ways and Means. To my far right, we have Representative Richard Lizama, chair for PUTC. And then we have Representative Joel Camacho representing Precinct 4. Then we have Representative Denita Yangtimai, chairwoman for Commerce and Tourism and Cannabis. Then we have Representative Vicente Camacho, who is our chair for FAA. Assisting the committee, we have our legal counsel, Joe Tyron, our senior LA, Claire Sablon, our fiscal analyst, TG Rabago, our sergeant at arms, we have Mr. Pete Tawai, and our IT, Mr. Delbert Camacho and Jonathan Diaz. Good morning, members and everyone in the House chamber. Before we begin, can I get a motion on the adoption of today's agenda? Thank you. The motion was made and seconded. All in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. Motion carries. At this time, we move on to the public comment portion of the agenda. If there's anyone from the public that wishes to make comments on the agency listed today, which is DFEMS, the floor is now open. If there is none, we will move on to the introduction. So today we have Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Services before us, and we do have an analysis prepared by our fiscal analyst in regards to the budget request that DFEMS had provided. The SIPE and DFEMS submitted a budget request of $7.4 million for the upcoming fiscal year 2023. Of that amount requested, approximately $6.7 million will be allocated for personnel, which includes 170 number of positions. Additionally, over $558,000 was requested to provide for their operations and $113,000 for their utility expenses. The governor's fiscal year 2023 proposal shows that the governor proposes to allocate approximately $4.3 million in total to DFEMS with a total of 157 positions. The analysis also shows that the governor's proposal falls short of the department's request by over $3 million. In addition, the governor's FY23 ARPA proposal shows that over $1.1 million will be allocated to DFEMS to aid in funding personnel costs. The governor also proposes this amount to be used to cover 20% of all applicable personnel costs within the department. In totality, DFEMS will be allocated nearly $5.5 million from the combined funding levels, with 157 positions funded at 80% through the general fund and 20% through ARPA. There's only one employee that is funded under ARPA at 100%. The combined funding levels lessen the shortfall amount mentioned earlier by nearly 37%, bringing this number down to just over $1.9 million. So with that, I would like to just ask a quick question based on the submission to the governor. Just real quick, so for FTEs budgeted for in the fiscal year 2022, I believe there's 100 FTE. Oh, my bad. Sorry, I was supposed to invite you guys up here. Hang on. At this time, I would like to call up any representatives from DFEMS that would be speaking today to join us in the chamber. Thank you, everyone. Um, I now hand the floor over to your team to provide the committee with any remarks. Please remember to state your name and title or position for the record. Thank you.
Good morning, Honorable Chair, Vice Chair Governor, all committee members that are present today. Allow me to introduce our management staff. On my left, on the far left, I have Captain Joram, who is in charge of logistics. Right next to him is Lieutenant Christine Sablon, who is the OIC of administration. I have Assistant Fire Chief John Pua, who is the overall Chief of Administration. To my right, far right, we have Lieutenant Benjamin Manglonia, who is the Acting Chief of Arson Investigation. Right next to him is Chief Bloss, who is the Chief of EMS, Emergency Medical Service. And right next to me is Chief Manning Cabrera, who is the Chief of Operations. And I forgot to mention Acting Chief of Operations, Captain Pat Simmons. And I am Jesse Mesa, the Acting Commissioner of DFEMS. We apologize for the cancellations and the interruptions of your busy schedule. And thank you for approving to meet with us today. The department's proposed budget was in anticipation that the Fire Academy will start and be completed this fiscal year. And the increasing fuel costs and being optimistic about the availability of funds to all departments. Clearly, that is not the case. We continue the process and foresee financial challenges moving forward. With that in mind, the Department of Fire and EMS is in acceptance of the governor's proposal. We are working closely with the governor's office of Management and Budget, the Secretary of Finance office, and that a revised budget is forthcoming. We ask to ensure that personal salaries are fully covered and that whatever is available to cover all others. The department's revolving funds, federal grants, and again, the governor's office, legislature continue to assist and to continue to assist to sustain the department's emergency service to our community. We thank you for all you do to support the Department of Fire and EMS and its members. The Department of Fire and EMS is an essential emergency operation department. It is a safety net for our community, visitors, and all of us here today. It is imperative that we continue to prove this safety net, and I believe we all share the same vision. Effective leadership in management in this department requires a clear understanding of how change to the fire department's resources will affect the emergency outcome in our community. We all must understand three important outcomes during an emergency incident in our community: firefighter injury, firefighter death, civilian injuries, civilian death, and severe property loss. The fire department service expectation has grown over the years as we all witness during Super Typhoon Solar, YouTube, and the COVID-19 pandemic. Our dedicated men and women in this Department of EMS have one mission. The mission of the Department of Fire and Emergency Service is to provide and to preserve life, property, and the environment through decisive action, strong leadership, teamwork, and faithful community partnership. We continue to save lives and properties at any given hour of the day or night We continue to plan for the worst and pray for the best. All leaders in our community, we all must have a team spirit to keep our emergency responders, frontline personnel safe so they can continue to do the most good in keeping our families and us and our children safe. We will continue to make every effort to provide quality personnel and quality service. The department's central function is not only to provide positive presence in our community, but we must also reduce the incidence of injury, loss of life, property damage by providing public education, fire cause investigation, fire prevention service to secure public safety, code compliance in a business-friendly manner, ensuring all members are led, trained, and paid. Our department is committed to the highest standard in fire service. Our commitment is to our community, visitors, personnel, and family, challenging ourselves to achieve the highest standard in performance and professionalism, accountable for ensuring total wellness and resiliency in our personnel and leaders, a working environment supporting trust, open communication, strong team spirit, and appreciation. The fire department's functions. We respond to fires, medical emergencies, vehicle fires, hazardous material incidents, water-related emergencies, trash and grass fire, missing person, technical rescues, water rescue, building fire inspection, code compliance, building review plans, permitting, public education, CPR certification, and water service. There are 126 fire personnel existing today. One commissioner, 5 assistant fire chief, 14 captains, 24 lieutenant, 16 firefighter 3, 16 firefighter 2s, 41 firefighter 1s, 4 admin, and 7 emergency medical dispatchers. On the island of Rhoda, we have 21. 1 deputy commissioner, 1 assistant fire chief, 2 fire captains, 1 lieutenant, 4 firefighter 3s, 1 firefighter 2, 7 firefighter 1s, and 4 admin. On the island of Tinian, we have 1 deputy commissioner, 1 assistant fire chief, 1 captain, 3 lieutenants, 1 firefighter 2, 11 firefighter 2, 1 firefighter 3, 11 firefighter 2, 5 firefighter 1s, and 2 administrators. The department is divided into 5 divisions. We have Division of Administration, Division of Fleet Maintenance, Division of Emergency Medical Service, Division of Operations Service, Fire Prevention, Arson Investigation Division. The Commissioner and Administration Division the main focus is to locate necessary funds that must be placed to be responsive to the needs of the department personnel, community that we lead and serve, maintaining a mission focus on the challenging technologies that influence cost-effective delivery to the service to a standard. The Fleet and Maintenance Department Division provides a maintenance program to ensure all department facilities, grounds, office equipment, fire protection apparatus involving all equipment is operational and ready to respond to all emergencies. The Emergency Medical Service Division, the EMS, is to address quality of the department's firefighter EMTs, overall safety performance, meet national standard, training, policies, and procedures to ensure our services are up to date. The Emergency Operations Division must deliver a timely response to all emergencies through properly equipped, trained, skilled, and efficient firefighters and officers. The Division of Fire Arson Investigation is to provide an effective program led by self-motivated and trained personnel. Their day-to-day operations is defense, maintaining fire safety to the community and business against fire, providing life safety education, fire protection, life safety systems, identifying and discussing fire extinguishments, and evacuation drills. From the year of 2021 to the year of 2022, January 01, we have responded to working structure fires at 108, ambulance fires 4, wildland fires 24, and so forth, over total runs of 824. On the emergency operation, the ambulance responds to medical emergencies with abdominal pain reaching at 330, breathing problems at 250, 258, chest pains at 300, and many more, over total runs of 4,569. The Division of Enforcement, Investigation, and Arson, hotel inspections about 7, permitting at 546, new permits 112, with new permits at 420. The search and rescue unit responds to distressed swimmers 10, missing person on land 1, and missing swimmers at 10, over total runs of 27. The department has 3 grants. We have the state fire grants from Department of Agriculture of a value of about $30,000 a year. We have the emergency medical service for children at a value of $130 per year. The National Highway Traffic Safety Administration program that funds the EMS, the emergency medical service, of a value between $30,000 to $50,000 a year. Challenges. Our challenge we face today continues to be the effects of Typhoon Solar, YouTube, and the pandemic, affecting the cinema economy and delaying shipping orders for equipment and supplies, ensuring personal salaries are secured every fiscal year, workplace conditions to meet firefighter health and safety in a 24-hour schedule, cleaning and sanitation supplies for all stations, leadership training off-island to attend the National Fire Academy, the Center of Public Safety Excellence for officers, purchasing additional vehicles, fire apparatus, tankers, and ambulance, replacement of personal uniforms, safety gears, and equipments, and of course, matching and approve of competitive federal grants. Sustainment, the department must maintain trained personnel, personal protective gear, firefighting equipment, supplies, and so forth to be ready, available at any time, training, testing, and fitness. That goes with the EMS, the medical emergency services, the fire code enforcement, search and rescue unit. The hazmat unit and our forestry unit all combined as one. Our solutions: submitting applications to all federal grants, either be competitive or approved by the state fire service for all firefighters or departments within our region. Continue to work and monitor our revolving funds to help augment any shortfalls from any budget every fiscal year. Continue the partnership with the Western Pacific Island Fire Chief Association, which is developing Guam. The benefits of this is quality personal service, community confidence, personal health and safety, new modernized equipments, vehicles, and so forth. Our goals and objective is to make sure every grant that we are eligible to apply for is submitted. Continue to work with the public assistance in trying to recover or obtain 10% of the cost required for us to receive those items. Address National Fire Protection Association cleanliness of decontamination personal protective equipment because of the fact of the high rise of carcinogens causing cancers to our firefighters. And of course, controlling overtime. Replacement of our generators of all stations because of what we experienced in the past concerning typhoons. Our spending plan is one of our toughest challenge. We must continue to maintain a high priority of turnout gears and decontamination. The value of that is skyrocket, roughly between 600,000 to 800,000. Fire equipments to be replaced, damaged hose, four gas monitors, roughly at 55,000. Medical equipments and supplies on an annual base, roughly about 40,000. Repair and maintenance plus additional 4 apparatus, we're looking at approximately 150,000. Uniforms for duty wear for professional appearance, a rough estimate of 30,000. Fire station in Kobler and San Roque is hopefully to be up and functioning before the end of the year, and that requires a new ambulance and a fire truck, roughly at 700,000 each. Susupi Fire Station upgrade is needed due to additional offices to fit our personnel to be comfortable working at 24 hours. A firefighter turnout compactor, which washes their turnout after every response, roughly at 50,000 each for all 3 islands. An open rack for all stations, including Ronin and Tinian, each cost roughly about 50,000. A non-skid paint for the deck in every fire station to avoid injuries, skip and falls, is roughly at almost close to 200,000. And of course, we need to replace rotas, extrication equipment, roughly at 53,000 each. This is to include rota as well, itinerant. The fire department operation performance is functioned in 3 considerations: resource available and reliable, department's capability, and overall operational effectiveness. The Department of Fire and Emergency Medical Service resource availability and reliability is a degree to which the resources are ready and available to response. DFEMS capability is the ability of our resource deployed to manage the incident. Defense operation effectiveness is the product of availability and capability. Time makes a tremendous difference in the way we will be perceived. I thank you again for allowing me to present the fire department. I yield for now.
Thank you for that very comprehensive report and update on your department. So, with that, I would like to ask my first question. Um, Under the Division of Emergency Services, I believe you have 100 FTEs for FY22, and you are requesting an additional 22 FTEs. Could you kindly share with us what those FTEs will be?
That was an anticipation that a fire academy will take place this year and be completed this year.
Thank you. And out of the 100 FTEs right now, how many are vacant?
I don't have that answer for you right now, but I'll get back to you.
Okay, thank you. You had mentioned about the revolving accounts, which was not included in the proposal. Would you please elaborate a little bit on that, please?
We have the ambulance revolving funds, we have the fire lane revolving funds, and the fire prevention revolving funds. These funds are very specific based on this public law regarding equipment training and overtime for specific trainings. For example, the EMS, any overtime occurred under the EMS training program, that can be tapped into our revolving funds to help augment some of that funding issues.
Thank you. Are you able to share with us what the funding balance is for those accounts?
Currently, right now, on the revolving funds, the only that's been updated in the MUNIS system is 293,500 and $87.
Is that collectively on all the different funding revolving accounts, or just is that 293 for one specific account?
The 290 is specifically for the ambulance. The fire safety code and the fire lane the fire lane right now is still pending to because of some certain issues of inputting. On the fire lane, we have $716.
Anything else? No. Was that it?
That's pretty much concerning the revolving
Okay.
Test.
Okay. Actually, at this time, I would like to recognize the presence of our Congressman Representative Edwin Probst, Chairman for Gaming. Thank you. One more question before I open the floor to the members. Did you guys receive any ARPA funds?
The ARPA funds that was allocated to the department was to cover our 20% of our salary.
Just the 20% salary, nothing else?
As far as we know, yes, that's the only thing that we receive as far as ARPA is concerned.
Okay. And do you happen to have the amount that you received in ARPA for your personnel, the 20%?
Honestly, I don't right now, but this is concerning the current year.
Yes.
$2.3991 for this fiscal year.
Thank you for that. I now open the floor for the members. I recognize Representative Joel Camacho.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate that. As you know, I may have to be leaving soon. But good morning, Acting Commissioner, and to your team. I just wanted to touch on the a statement you made earlier. I noticed that you didn't uh, bring up an amount, which is regarding the San Roque Fire Station. I believe maybe you can just further elaborate and just correct me if I'm wrong. That there is an MOA between you and the investor in San Roque, that some sort of trade-off in the property, right? That you guys will be building a new substation north of Walpole Beach. Is that correct?
That is correct. Currently, we were given 30,000 to pay for the blueprint, and right now the blueprint is, how the permitting takes pretty long. So yes, we're hopeful that a groundbreaking for the new fire station would be in place before the end of this fiscal year.
And would this be funded through the MOA, or is this going to be funded through the department?
It is funded through the MRA. It's pretty much a trade off.
Yeah.
So they'll take the old fire station to replace it with a new one.
Perfect. I look forward to that.
Thank
And
you.
I thank you and your team again for this morning. Madam Chair, I may have to leave now. Thank you.
Thank
you
you.
again.
Thank you. Any other members? Recognize Rep. Probst.
Good morning, Acting Commissioner, to you and your team. Thank you for joining us this morning. Before I ask any questions, I just want to thank you for everything you guys do for our community, keeping us safe, and for your quick response time. I actually witnessed it when my dad had a stroke, and the time that they were able to come to our house was within 5 minutes. It was very impressive. What was even equally impressive was their professionalism, how they handled themselves, and how their bedside manner, how kind they were in doing so. They didn't seem like they were panicking or anything. They knew what they were doing, but at the same time, keeping everyone calm. It's a stressful thing when responding to emergency matters, and to see these guys so professional and doing such a great job is very, very inspiring. So I hope you can relay that to your team, that a lot of us that have received such wonderful care and such quick response time are most grateful. Um, with regard to my questions, I just wanted to ask, with regard to this summer, it's really dry. We see everywhere that's just uh, brown, and I'm concerned about the greater threat to fires right now. Do you have adequate equipment right now to handle if there was such a huge fire or something? Right now, with your current engines and equipment, to face a huge bushfire or something that would break out? Thank you.
Pretty much, we've already established indicator signboards that will give the community an idea of how flammable our vegetations are. And if you drive around, you will see it, and it says it's showing a high. And as far as the equipments to respond to to the incidents, some of these wildland fires are pretty much, there's no path to get to them. We do have on island our forestry team that were deployed to the mainland. So they pretty much come out, they do a survey, and they assess the incident and see what is the best course of action. And yes, we continue to figure ways to make sure that that response is met with the resources required. So we do everything we can. Yes.
Thank you, Acting Commissioner, and I yield for now. Thank you.
I'd also like to recognize the presence of our floor leader, Representative Ralph Yunlong. Any members recognize Representative Vicente Camacho?
Good morning and welcome. Um, Simple question here. Anybody can answer it. Do you have personnel assigned to the airport for emergency and all that?
We don't assign to the airport. That is out of our jurisdiction. The airport fire department takes care of that.
Okay, good. That's just what I wanted to ask. So, um, I see that the street signs are up. Makes life easier, right? Roads are actually looking better. Now I have a question. This is concerning, I guess, time and safety, but I have constituents, residents calling me asking for street bumps, you know, put in certain areas, but I also have other people calling me opposing that. How does that slow down your emergency services?
How does that slow down our services? One, that is a safety factor because of a certain speed limit inside the community that we are allowed to respond with what they call due regards. So yes, that is I would recommend it because of it providing the community safety in general.
Um, One of the question vehicles going out, they said it's going to slow him down and everything else. I don't think so, but I decided I'd ask. Thank you. Are you?
Thank you, Representative Camacho. Anybody else? So recognize Rep. Lizama.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Good morning. Mr. Mesa, welcome with your team. Sorry about that. You do send people out to the U.S. for forest fires and so forth. Can you just tell us who funded that, and is that part of the request budget that you submitted? Can you just tell us who funded that?
The state fire assistants pretty much fund everything from the day they leave to the day they return back. And that is a program open to the community as well, not just to the department. So we have civilian firefighter that participate in every deployment so far.
Okay, nice. Thank you. I yield back. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Lizama. Anybody else? Recognize Rep. Selena Babauta.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Welcome to DFEMS and your management team. Um, I have several questions actually, and they're all over the place, so they're in no particular order. In your FY23 budget request, you requested 170 FTEs. Is that correct?
A previous commissioner probably put that down, but as I mentioned, it was anticipation of a fire academy and I believe additional administrative staff. I'm not too sure why that number was so high, but I do know that is for a specific concern of meeting the manpower in the fire department.
Is there a fire academy that will commence this year?
Because of what we continue to see the struggle, not only here in the city of Maya, but worldwide, nationwide, the fire academy has been canceled.
Okay. So what was your role in preparing this FY23 budget submission? I just heard you mention the former commissioner, so I'm wondering, because it'd be useless for me to ask you questions and you weren't participating in this.
My role in that with my staff, hope maybe they can answer.
Sure.
But my role specifically was just getting, being provided the information of what purpose or what was the vision for this fiscal year. And the vision that I took from that meeting was that we needed an additional academy to take place. Unfortunately, that wasn't happening because of financial strain.
Okay.
But let me
How
ask,
much does it cost to run an academy?
that's that's pretty much based on the number of individuals. The last academy, I believe that we just passed to include salary, we're looking over maybe roughly between 6 to 800,000. That is to include salary, equipment, and staff.
For how many participants?
The one we started off at 40 some, but graduated 30 some. So again, I'm just throwing estimated numbers.
Sure. I counted in the FY23 budget submission provided by the governor. And you mentioned earlier you have about 125 firefighters. 28?
100, 126, excluding the civilians.
Okay. There are 49 vacancies going into FY23. Can you help us understand I'm trying to reconcile your budget here. There's 126 firefighters, there's 49 vacancies, and you're asking for 170 FTE for going into FY23. Can you help us explain by explaining the gap in those? And I get that you were anticipating a fire academy this year, and unfortunately, that will not take place.
One of the reasons for the increase of FTEs was for one of many reasons. For example, we continue to see some of our our response capacity being somewhat shorthanded. So to meet national standards, we're not looking at just one academy. We're looking at probably another back-to-back academy just to meet the adequate staffing for O apparatus to meet the response capability. So then again, as far as the numbers, I will get back to you so I
Sure.
can give you more.
I'm trying to gauge exactly, and perhaps maybe a desk audit is the best way to determine how many firefighters are needed for the population here in Saipan, Tinian, and Rhoda. That would be the best gauge for us as policymakers to determine exactly how many firefighters, and depending on your responses to incidents, whether it's EMS or fire. So we may probably, I can suggest a desk audit for fire department, we did include a provision in this current fiscal year for a desk audit of DPS and corrections. And that helps us determine exactly how many personnel in terms of first responders are needed. It pretty much gives us a picture, um, a more accurate picture of how many personnel, you may need. So of the, and I still can't wrap my head around the 170 FTE request. What, in your opinion, is the ideal number of firefighters for the population that we have, for the data that you have in terms of how many responses average do you make in the last year to 3 to 5 years? Has anyone ever done an analysis like that?
No, they haven't done any analysis, but based on the National Fire Academy, so I mean the National Fire Association, it's not, the concern is when a hotel fire, for example, is to burn, you
Mhm.
need at least 200 personnel present, at least, with multiple fire engines, multiple rescues, and so forth. But yes, I would take that into consideration.
Um, I hope you guys do that. It can only improve your department.
Definitely.
You also stated one of your goals as a department is controlling overtime. How much overtime was incurred in the last fiscal year and in the current fiscal year to date?
For overtime gross, we're looking at 327,671.
Is that for the current fiscal year?
Yes, ma'am.
How much was it for FY21? If you have that figure. Would you say it's roughly the same or did it increase maybe?
Uh, with an
Would it
with
be
a
212?
rough guess, this year might be a little bit more because of reallocation on personnel positions and salary.
Can you elaborate on that? How would you incur additional?
For this year,
Yeah.
it's because of the change in salary, because of
Oh, I see.
reallocations.
I see. Okay, I think your overtime last fiscal year FY21, what the actual cost was 212,000 is what we're seeing. Um, Also, is that correct? And I want to recognize Ms. Nadia Benjamin Pua. She's the acting special assistant for OMB, and she's here. She usually comes when she's available to help us because the budget submission that was submitted on April 1st is actually incomplete. Everybody's operations was zeroed out. So that leads me to my next question. You mentioned you were in acceptance of the governor's submission, and I find that troubling given that the operations for fire was totally zeroed out. So, um, and then you mentioned also that you were in conversations with OMB, and we do expect an amended submission on July 1st. So we're waiting for that before we actually crunch the numbers. Um, but it was troubling to hear you say that you were in acceptance of this particular budget submission, given that the operations of the department was zeroed out. And I'm wondering if you knew that.
Yes, I did, and the reason why we accepted was because of the fact that a revised budget should be shortcoming, and then they would probably give us the accurate numbers. So that was one of the reasons why.
Okay, in anticipation of the amended submission on July 1st, do you expect your operations to be at least at the current level, or are you expecting an increase in your operations, or?
I would say yes because of the increase of fuel.
You expect an increase?
Because yes, because of the increase of the fuel costs,
Sure.
that's going to affect power. That's going to affect the number of response we do. So yes, we do see there's a slight increase.
You requested zero for your utilities except for logistical support. It's at 103 is what the budgets, the department submitted, 113,000, but it was only under logistical support. Every other division under DFEMS is, you didn't request for any utilities.
What was that cost there on logistics? 300 some thousand?
113.
113.
Would that cover the entire department?
Well, because our logistics report is pretty much the responsible division to ensure that everything is pretty much as far as facilities, the power and water is paid for. As far as the cost, I'm going to have to get back to you on that.
Okay. And at this time, I'd like to hear from the other members of your team exactly what their needs are, and exactly how their mission affects the entire department. If your team is willing to elaborate on what they do and how it affects how it improves the entire department.
Sure, why not? I guess I'll start on my left with Cap Jerem.
Good morning, all again. And my name is Jairam, captain of the DFEMS logistic divisions. And so it's been a practice, and we have sustained uh, all the operations in it and everything that has been given to us. So we don't have, currently, I don't have any special request or anything to move on. Thank you.
That's fine. Can we hear from others? Whoever wants to, if you want.
Okay, just to make it clear, you guys are not being forced. So if you wish
Yeah,
to respond,
nobody's being forced.
please respond.
If you want to say something, maybe bat for more money for your division, that's what we're here for. So if, your silence would probably indicate that you don't need anything in particular in your division. So if anybody wants, if not, it's okay.
Good morning, acting or vice chairman, and the rest of your colleagues. No, thank you for giving us the opportunity this morning to be with our budget hearing, and I hope everything's gonna be okay. Yes, I like your question, Congressman, Congresswoman Roberto. I'm sorry, Mabauta.
That's fine.
Yes, I hope you guys understand the fire department. You can Google it or go YouTube and you find out about fire. Yes, we need a lot of equipment, uh, personnel, fundings in order for us to move forward and assist our community, especially to our visitors. I like to see if you guys have the heart and assist us our request. Then thank you for that. And pretty much, again, like I said, thank you. Anyways, I'd like to introduce myself. I hope you guys know me. I'm Manny Cabrera as acting assistant fire chief under operations. And on my right side, that's my assistant Pat Sevens, and hopefully he got something for you guys. Again, thank you.
Thank you. Nobody else? Thank you for your comment, Mr. Cabrera, with respect to the equipment. Last year, you guys were here, and we also took a tour of the 5 different stations, so I appreciated that. And one of the biggest things that stood out for me last year was the need for personnel equipment. I don't know what you call those fire suits.
That's the turnout gears, bunker gear,
Yeah,
coats, and
bunker gear
pants.
is what I
Yes.
heard. Okay. Is the bunker gear for all your firefighters still in the same condition?
I'm happy to. I'm happy to announce. Tess, am I on?
It's on. Yeah.
So I'm happy to announce that we were able to procure
158 sets.
158 turnout
Wow.
gears that should be here by
Uh, End of the month or beginning of the July.
beginning of July or first the ending part of this month.
I'm
Through.
very, very glad to hear that, honestly. We heard from your firefighters themselves that it was old, at least 15 years old, is what I heard at one point.
The last time we were issued was 2007. So
Oh,
we were able to procure through NMHC
oh,
all these things, CDBG grant.
yes.
And also, we are really happy to inform you guys that Island of Rhoda and Tinian were also included in this.
Oh, I'm so glad to hear that because we just came from their budget hearings and they're even in a worse situation that Saipan is. And I hope you guys, whenever you guys have extra funding or not extra funding, but some funds that you can pass on to Tinian and Rhoda because we have to consider them in the budget as well. But I'm so glad to hear that your equipment is coming. Is there any other new equipment that will be coming
Yes,
in?
also through the same CDBG we acquired, and the tender was also announced, and waiting for 2 Walland trucks
Wow.
and about 300 gallons each, and 2 water craft for shoreline rescues, and 2 Walland UTVs, all terrain vehicles. They're all in the process. We're expecting end of this year. Crossing our fingers.
That's great to hear because Rhoda is also asking for ATVs and
They're part
watercraft.
of it. They've been
Okay,
also
great.
given
I'm
one
glad to
set.
hear that Rhoda and Tinian are being included in
So,
your.
just for your information, whatever we get, we always share with the Rhode Antinian, right?
Okay,
From
that's
our
very good to hear.
uniforms
We
and
can
the
pass on the good news
qualities.
to them. Um, that's all I have for now, Madam Chair. I yield.
Thank you, Rep. Babauta. Anybody else for first round? Okay. I have a couple of questions I would like to ask. Um, do your staff currently receive hazardous pay by any chance?
I would like to say yes, but unfortunately no. But we did at one point, looking back in the early '90s. Unfortunately, that had to stop because of funding issue.
Okay. Well, that's unfortunate because, the line of work that your staff put themselves into is very, very important, and it's very dangerous. And so I would encourage maybe in the next budget hearing next year that you guys ask for hazardous pay. It, if the hazardous pay were to be added onto the salary, would you know what the percentage would be or the amount?
Good morning, Madam Chair and the rest of the committee. My name is Juan Pua, and I'm the Assistant Chief for the Administration. Um, if I recall, the hazardous materials 25% embedded to the salary.
Thank you for that clarification. Okay. Next question. So, does your department pay for your own utilities, or does the administration pay for it?
Yes, we do, ma'am. It's the department pays for utilities.
Okay. I think,
Sorry.
so it's the central
central
government, so it doesn't come out of your budget. Okay, that's good to hear. Um, and then, has the administration or Department of Finance or OMB has reached out to your department to discuss any revisions to your budget submission? Since we're expecting a revised submission on July 1st, has anyone reached out to you guys to discuss what those needs would be?
We do meet on a case by case basis. What they have mentioned is that one will be forthcoming, and then once that's actually, I guess, documented, then they'll come and we'll do a visit, so to speak. I'm not too sure.
Okay, so you don't have an idea of what those fundings will be for your specific needs.
The answer would be no. But I would like to mention that because of the essential need of us providing the services, I pretty much have the confidence that we will get it.
Okay, thank you for that. Anybody else? I recognize Rep. Lozama.
Thank you for the second round, Mr. Chairwoman. Um, just a follow-up question, because you said that the budget was not from you to send off a group of people to the US to fight forest fires. And you're asking for more FTEs. When you send someone else, I mean, a group of people, how many do you actually send out?
That's one of the reasons why civilians are involved, so that way the number of certified firefighters or sworn firefighters does not affect the operations.
Okay. Even if you send 5 or 10 from your section, they're not gonna affect your operation, correct?
Correct.
All right. Because you're asking for FTE, so when you send off, it's just like another FTE is needed because you send off some of your personnel.
That'll pretty much augment when we do send, but it is pretty much the additional FTEs again is to make sure that the adequate number of personnel meet the capacity to meet the operation.
Okay.
Or sorry, capability.
Okay. Can you tell me if you have, as far as all these hotels, do you have the equipment to actually fight those fires if it happens on a hotels or so or something like that? Do you have the actual equipment to work with for the fire?
Yes, we do. We do have the equipment, but we don't have the apparatus.
Okay. How often do you check the fire extinguishers around the area?
The fire extinguisher is pretty much the obligation of the hotel management to make sure that it's installed and tested. We come around, our prevention guys come around to to make sure that it is actually being checked and replaced and properly stored.
Thank you. Thank you. So you all set. Thank you for the information.
Anybody else? Okay, well, before we close out, I would like to ask one last question, and that would be, what would you say your priorities are as far as expenditures, so that when we do receive that revised budget, we can take into consideration what you mentioned today versus what's submitted by the governor?
The priorities would always be to make sure that our personnel are properly equipped with the safety gears required, the communication that's needed to communicate with the individuals that are actually inside fighting the fire, and of course their day-to-day usage of uniforms. So our biggest priority is the personnel safety to provide that emergency care or service.
My apologies. I recognize Rep. Yumo. Sorry.
Thank you, Chair. and thank you for allowing non-members to ask questions. Um, just some clarification, maybe to OMB. FY 21 annual report showed the department has overspent 1.1. So can we get a pretty much a breakdown? Is that majority OT due to COVID and I guess logistics of COVID throughout the CMI?
Thank you, Floor Leader Yumo. Again, my name is Nadia Pua from OMB. I am the acting special assistant for management and budget, but I also invited myself here because I'm the designated analyst for fire. So Chief was not exaggerating. We do meet, he does call me pretty often just to follow up on the status of the revised budget. With regards to your question, Rep Yumo, their overtime for last fiscal year is for the entire department was 200,000. So that's actually lower than previous years. But you may be right. The reason why they may have overspent their budget was because of the unforeseen overtime expenses, and they would have to use their own general fund money to purchase equipment when COVID money wasn't readily available. So they were quick to act in response to COVID.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's not adding up from what the annual report states versus what was reported with regards to overtime. So there is some over expenditures. My clarification question would be, is that covered by the ARPA funds that was available last year? And do we expect, you know, an additional expenditure because last fiscal year the total expense for fire was 5.7073 million. The request now is will combine is roughly 5.4. So it is going to be underfunded again. I mean, not underfunded, but it will be a little bit over. But my question now is, should ARPA cliff happens next year, what does the fire department or DFEMS plan to do with all the I guess the amount of expenditure you're used to? Are we going to go back? If we go back to prior pandemic, would the fire sustain itself moving forward after 2023? And that will be my question to the acting chief. Is the fire department or defense prepared to make drastic cuts? You know, we're going from 5.4, but maybe down to 3 million this time next fiscal year.
We foresee this, and that's one of the reasons why we are making sure that the grant that provides that assistance is provided, that we, because it's a competitive grant, that can pretty much support the sustainment of the number of personnel to meet operational needs for 2 years. So it's a competitive grant that we're going to continue to apply so that we can hopefully get approved before we even meet that state.
Thank you, Chief. And that goes back to the question Rep Babauta asked with the over additional 157 NOPs. That will be my concern for next fiscal year is what happens when we can't fund the 157. What is the department's plan on how to alleviate or remedy this? Should 157 be on board? What happens?
What happens? Like we anticipate, that's why we submitted a proposed budget, in anticipation that there would be some kind of a steady flow of income. Unfortunately, that's not what we're seeing. That's one of the reasons why we kind of postpone those academy. And those positions would probably continue to show, but will be unfunded because of the shortfall of funds.
Thank you. Thank you, Chair.
Anybody else for any follow-up questions before we close? Um, I was curious. I believe Ms. Nadia Pua had mentioned that the department was able to purchase the expenses for COVID out of your own budget, and have those been reimbursed back to them yet? Since they're COVID related?
Yes, we submitted the request for reimbursement, and we did get some funds back as far as the equipment purchase and overtime expenditures. So yes.
Sorry. Were those reimbursements from the CARES Act or ARPA? Do you know?
COVID-19 from public assistance.
Recognize Rep. Yumo.
Yeah, so just maybe a follow-up question to your question basically is the PA going to be available for this type of questioning? Because we know we've been overspending the last couple of years. The question now is, have we been getting that reimbursement, whether it's through FEMA or the COVID? I mean, are this being reimbursed? So we need to ask those type of questions to the PA, and I request the uh, the committee requests the presence of the PA and their people so that they can answer a lot of the questions that we have and the department's having difficulty asking because they don't know what is being expended in the department, what is being reimbursed, and it's all. I'm not even sure if they are reconciling right now. It should be chaos by now because that's a $500 million that is expended. So we need to find out where are we in those type of. Thank you.
Thank you, Rep. Yumo. Your request is duly noted, and I will relay the message to our chair. Um, I think that brings us to our conclusion for this budget hearing, and I would like to thank the acting Chief Mesa, along with your team, for coming in and providing us with some clarifications on some of the questions that we have. And if you have any if you have a revised budget that you would like to submit prior to the July 1st, please feel free to submit them to the committee or any one of us for that matter, and we will definitely take it into consideration during deliberations. So thank you again for coming in, and you are now dismissed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Short recess, please. Can we go back and, yeah. Okay, so we are back from recess. Moving on the next line item on the agenda, miscellaneous announcements. Any announcements from any of the members? None? Okay, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Thank you. We have, the motion was, what do I say? The motion was made and seconded. Can I, any discussions? Okay, we are now ready to adjourn. Can I, all in favor say aye. All opposed say nay. The ayes have it. We are now adjourned. Thank you.